informal conversations about success in sports and life. Today with the great Greg Jones. We're super excited to be having him today. Greg Jones, three-time NCAA champ, and great guy all right. Oh, here we go. Wait, I think I just saw you pop on. 1 second. Wait a minute. I just saw you. Let me go to connect. Wait a minute, I just had it. View. There we go. All right, now I think, Greg, all you have to do is just click connect, and then we should be good to go. And we're on.
Yo.
Can you see me?
Not yet.
Wait a minute, what's going on? Maybe.
Yeah, I got you now.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, brother? I'm good. How are you?
Good. All's well. How have you been? Happy Easter?
Oh, likewise. Thank you.
How have you been, you and your family?
No,
healthy?
it's been good. I was. Yeah. I was just talking to my daughter here 5 minutes ago. So I don't know when we're gonna have a time to do some family time like this. So I'm grateful for it. But man, they're getting rough.
I know. No, you got your Twitter there. You got my son right down here with me. He's right underneath me playing with a little thing here.
Yeah, I got one doing homework in front of me, one in another room doing homework. So we'll
Right.
make the best of it.
All right, you got the situation under control.
Yep, we're all good, brother.
I was saying we got a little bit in common. Zeke Jones coached both of us, right? He was your assistant coach.
Yeah.
Just my head coach.
Zeke was my coach all the way through. How you had him all 4 or 5 years?
Well, my last 2 years of college, because I was at Rutgers for 3 years and transferred to the University for my last 2, and that's when Zeke job over there. So for 2 years.
Yeah, no, I joke with Zeke all the time. I was his launching pad into where his career is at right now.
That's right.
But no, I see. It's funny about the impact the coach can have, man. Because just flipping through your materials and see some of the language and stuff that you guys are using and passing along to young kids. I see a lot of Zeke Jones in there, and it's just amazing that the influence that he's had and continues to have.
Oh yeah. I watch. It's funny because I watch some of the old Bobby Douglas. Watching him coach when he was coaching at Arizona State and Iowa State, and listening to some of the things he would say, like win the match 2 or 3 times, and he's got the guy back. He's like, look for the fall, and I'm like, oh wow, he got it from Bobby Douglas. That's how it works,
Yep. That's how it should work, right?
That's it. I just keep glancing down every now and then to make sure my son isn't putting anything in his mouth.
No, you're good. How old?
And now Matt Levy was your teammate. He and I battles. He was one of the best guys I ever wrestled with. Without it.
Matt Levy actually started wrestling in my basement. There was
Really?
Growing up, my dad had a wrestling club. This is a little bit before. Say what's up, man.
Hey, how's it going?
So a little bit, he's gone. A little bit before, all the wrestling clubs started to become a big thing. My dad already had us rolling. It was me, Matt Levy, Brandon Lauer wrestled at West Virginia. My cousin George Carter wrestled at Bloomsburg. There's probably about 4 or 5 other guys, maybe 6 other guys that went on to wrestle Division I. But Levy was a worker, man. Yeah. Levy was a worker, and he competed hard, and he's actually doing a real good job coaching too up there in Pennsylvania.
Oh, he's in PA coaching?
Yeah. He's at Levy grew up 20 minutes. His high school is 20 minutes from mine. He's coaching at Franklin Regional now.
All right. I went into college lacking some pretty serious fundamentals, and when I wrestled Matt Levy, I learned the dreaded lesson that you can't reach with the same hand that you're stepping with your lead leg, because he just kept pop right in. That
was his shot. He wasn't gonna be nothing fancy, but he was definitely effective.
He was solid. I remember one match I lost to him. 8-7. It was the finals of the Navy Classic. But I mean,
I remember.
I happened to somehow sneak a reversal or a takedown in there, but I was not in the match. As far as how it felt like he completely dominated me. But somehow, I got a take. I snuck something in, but even that match, he kicked my butt. People are like, wow, you wrestled tough against Matt Levy. I'm like, not really. Greg, one of the that Zeke always said about you. He always spoke about your work ethic, and he said that you were a guy that really prided himself on his work ethic, and that like when people would say, "Oh, he's just real talented, he's a freak," he said you really weren't a fan of that. You don't like hearing that from people, and that you really took the time to put the hard work in. So that I have that in my head even back from 2006 when I met Zeke.
Yeah, I mean I think that's one of the things that that also came from him and Coach Trumbull at the time. That I think I don't know, it's kind of a cop out, and I think you ask any high level athlete that same question, but it kind of short sells what you're trying to accomplish with saying, oh, he was just really fast, he was just really athletic. But then I really think as I grew, I think my older brother Vertus was very, very talented, and he worked hard. He just wasn't as willing to learn as much as I was, I think.
Yeah.
But I had the advantage of him going first, and through an established work ethic, really, just kind of started to figure everything out, and that kind of you have your principles, I had mine. My two principles were the same every match. I want to go out there, I want to get as tired as I can, I want to go out and score as many points as I can, because I might lose a 4-3 match, but I'm not going to lose scoring 16, 18 points. So that was kind of my mindset. And you have all these guys out there afraid of running from fatigue or serving it. I see it more in the line I'm working now, being a 5-minute round, 15-minute fight. But I think fatigue is not something that we need to run from. Fatigue is something we need to embrace and work through.
No, I love that, because there's a lot of guys, a lot of people around the country who nailed it, and even high Division I caliber wrestlers, that one of the biggest things that holds them back is they're afraid of getting tired in the match. And then you said, actually, you're looking to get yourself tired. And two guys I could really think of also like that, I think of like Kyle Dake and Kyle Snyder. I mean, of course, there's many, many wrestlers.
Sure.
But those guys, after the match, you look at them and they just look shocked. It's not that they're out of shape. It's that they've worked so hard during that match. And that's, again, like you're bringing that to the table also. That's an important point for wrestlers to hear, and fighters.
Yeah, and I think that reverts back to the previous point too, is you have to go there. There's a good article with Kerry Colott talking that I had to go there every day. And I had to go there every day, and I had to know when the pressure was on the line, I had to figure out and know how to get there. And that's where, again, alluding to my previous point, is it's just a real refined sense of work over an extended period of time. And hopefully that's, it comes out positively.
What did you do? So, like, who did you work out with in the room when you were in college? Especially, like, in other words, as time went on and you got better and better, were you still able to get challenged in the room? Did you have to create more challenges for yourself? Did your brother come in and wrestle with you? How did that go?
Yeah, no, I had never had a problem, finding workout partners. If I did, my coaches would certainly figure out a way to put a little bit extra stress on me. But I wrestled everybody. One of the things that I think, as I got bigger, it was obviously very important for me to maintain the speed and maintain the skills that I did as I was the same as I was a 1 or 3 pounder. So that's as I grew, I wrestled a lot of 49. Mike Torriero was a big training partner of mine. Eric Mullen was a 65 pounder, and just a whole bunch of guys. But I wrestled I would drill anyone from 133 on all the way up to heavyweight. So with intense focus on what the task at hand, and I think you're become a little bit irrelevant. At the time we were competed at a high level at West Virginia too. So the bar was high. The bar was set high for all of us. So no matter who I grabbed, it was something that I could get productive out of. That was another Zeke line, right? Never let your workout partner cut into your workout, right?
That's right. You probably have a lot of worksheets that he sent to us. He gave us these different worksheets that would say that, like, let your heart show your training, win the match 2 or 3
I
times.
have all your material, man. I have all your material. It just maybe formatted a little different.
Yep. That's awesome. What else mentally? What else do you think that whether it was things said to you or other coaches or just things, just in general, like in wrestling, and that now you pass on to your fighters? What are some like key points? I know every guy is different, right? There's no cookie cutter approach. Naturally,
Sure.
mindset program because you got to standardize it somewhere. But really, the idea is you want to help athletes find themselves. So, are there any kind of like guiding principles mentally that maybe you had or you passed to your guys, anything like that?
Not to doubt that in a little bit because I got a lot going up there, and I'm sure I do. I think it all starts with and I've heard a lot of people allude to it. Is it starts off with who you surround yourself with. If you see, there's not a lot of elite wrestlers or elite athletes, especially elite wrestlers, that are by themselves. Usually if a team has a stud wrestler, usually there's a second one close by or a third one that kind of pulls that group along. So I think that's probably one of the most critical things is finding the right people, finding the right environment in which you can thrive in, and just and just like you said, someone that's gonna meet you where you're at and help kind of define your path for you.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say some maybe like wrong things to focus on, like mistakes you see your fight and the wrestlers too? You focus maybe on the wrong things. What are some of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first one we talked about is being afraid of fatigue, being afraid to get tired, or then what happens is you start clock watching, and then the next 5 seconds feels like 5 minutes. Something I used to do is I used to break a match up into 5, 10, or 15-second clips, depending on what kind of action it was. So it wasn't this long call a wrestling match a 10-minute time frame, right? It wasn't I have 4 more minutes left, so I go out of bounds, I come back in. I just have to win this whistle start.
Yeah.
However this whistle start is, if it's 5 seconds, if it's 15, 17 seconds till we reset and go out of bounds because I cover a lot of distance, then that's my focus. I want to win the next moment, win the next whistle start, and then you start pounding those moments on top of moments on top of moments.
Right.
And that's how you build a successful performance. I'm not saying win or lose, but that's how I built my performances. That just win the next 5 seconds, win the next 10 seconds. Right. I see a lot of guys just really just make competition, whether it be wrestling or fighting, they make it too difficult, too complex. Worried about things that they can't control, worried about the crowd or whatever. So however you have to do it to figure out, again, that time thing was also a way to keep my focus small,
Right.
and to kind of simplify things for me. And like I said, and then you get throughout the match, and I still have my 2 goals. I know I'm going to set those goals. I'm going to get as tight as I can, and that's going to lead to scoring points. For me, I was always better off if I over wrestled. Another Zeke line. I was better if I over wrestled rather than under wrestled.
Right.
So,
That's a good point.
if I'm doing too much, that means I'm on the right track. Right. If I'm not doing enough, my feet are stuck. Maybe I'm watching the clock to know I get choice next period, and I'll flip the score that way. That's all the danger zones, right, for me. So just a lot of little things like that has actually been fun to help refine those things, switching from straight wrestling over to fighting. And just it's been great for my learning, for my creativity, and just preparing athletes to compete.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense, and I like that over wrestling as opposed to under wrestling, because a lot of times you see that, like you have a really good wrestler who's just not doing very much. And
Right.
you're like, oh, you're better off just creating some kind of action. And if you're a good wrestler, you'll probably find your way out of it. As
That's
opposed
the
to,
idea.
and it also would just stink to go down that way where, oh, I could have done more. Like, I'd rather
Right.
go the other way. I made some mistakes as opposed to I didn't do enough.
Yeah, that was another thing. Another thing that I would use is, this relates directly to fighting too. That I think back to a lot of my NCAA semifinals and final matches. So that's what you see. You get into your match. The match kind of takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
You're just kind of out there and kind of seeing what's going to happen. He does this, I do this. Then you end up 2.5 minutes in, score 0-0, and you just kind of, stance in motion you might as well be doing. So I think about those whenever I would come in a situation where I would start feeling a little bit heightened pressure or, and this is all reflection. I didn't realize this going through, or kind of, the cream's rising to the top, so to speak. My only plan for the match would be in the first 10 seconds, he's got to feel an explosive, hard, fast double leg within that 10-second window. If I get it, good. I'm up 2-0. If I don't get it, that's fine too, because now he has to wrestle a little bit differently. He has to respect my level changes. I'm going to start making him reach. He's going to down block. I'm going to go run behind him. So just letting him, that's firing off that hard shot. No matter if it's successful or not, but firing out that hard shot in that first 10 seconds would change the whole complexion of the match. Because it's a lot different, if you watch maybe football, up-tempo offense in football, you watch it on film, you have their assignments down pretty good. But once you get up there and you line that thing up in live and they start the up-tempo, no huddling, now you start playing, the defense is playing a little bit faster than they want to. Now you start creating spaces, and now you start creating separations, and there's your touchdown. Same concept as it relates to that.
I think that's great. And back in college, I remember Zeke saying that the most takedowns analyzing the NCAA's World Championships, most takedowns happen within 15 seconds of a whistle start. Whether it's in the beginning of the match or going out of bounds. Do you have the same kind of mentality, like when you went out of bounds, or there was like a stalemate, or was it really more just in the beginning of the match that you were thinking? No,
especially both. Both, because I knew I wanted to make him feel my speed and explosiveness in that beginning window. But then we got out of bounds. Again, it's a new match. Every whistle start to me is a new match.
Right. And you see that among really good wrestlers. You almost feel like maybe like taking a step back. You think, well, if I shoot right away, maybe he's going to be ready for it, because a lot of times, what's the first thing people do? Blows, they step back and they start kind of bouncing around.
Right.
But you almost feel like, well, maybe he's ready for it, or I don't know. I mean, that's the wrong mentality. Obviously, you should be thinking about getting to your offense, like you said.
Right. Oh, so what? What's the worst thing going to happen? You go down 2-0?
Right.
You have to work a little harder. That's what we're here for anyway.
Right. No, that's phenomenal. I think that's great. And the whole idea of over wrestling as opposed to under wrestling. How about in fighting? Is there some kind of equivalent to that to get your motor running early on that you tell your fighters? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I tell my fighters. I don't know what it is half the time. No, there's a lot of things. As I've gotten older, I've begun to do. I've kind of morphed, because there's a lot of things in fighting that are outside of my area of expertise, right? So I have a box that I'm very competent in. Now my goal is to continue to grow that box, make it bigger and bigger and bigger. But no matter how we slice this thing, I'm not going to have 10 or 15 years of kickboxing experience.
Right.
I'm just not. So I kind of, from my standpoint, instead of being a wrestling coach, I've kind of morphed into a little bit of a performance coach. We hit all the wrestling stuff, but I still have to be valuable in a way outside of double legs and single legs. So that's kind of forced me to really, one, understand the sport of fighting, but two, to understand my athletes to a much larger degree. Because I do a lot based off of feel. I think I have a pretty refined sense of perception. I've been in a lot of high pressure moments, and I understand how to read and respond in those moments. So what I say and what I do is gonna vary from fighter to fighter. I don't have, I mean, obviously, yeah, we have our core principles, but I don't necessarily have a set way of reaching the guys.
I got a good question. As you were saying that, I started thinking, how do you balance? So you have some fighters that are coming from a wrestling background, some
Mm-hmm.
do some boxing, kickboxing, that kind of thing. How do you balance? I don't even know if balance is the right word. Maybe it's not balance as much as it is finding your optimal point and knowing when to shift your weight there. But chances are you're probably going to be successful in your wheelhouse, like taking what you do really well and making it freaky. But at the same time, you have to balance those other areas. I guess mentally, where do you want your athletes? Like if they're a wrestler, how much do you? I think of Aaron Pico, like one of his fights. Like he's a really good wrestler, and a lot of times you see him striking all the time. Now he's a heavy hitter also, so we know he's a heavy hitter. But maybe your best stuff is wrestling. How do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. I think I know where you're going. And I'm going to speak from my experience and what I've done. We have, I don't know, 40 fighters. We have 15, 17 guys in the UFC, another 8, 10, or 12 in Bellator. Very few. We got Kamaru Usman, Logan Storley, Michael Chandler. Those are guys that I have with real wrestling backgrounds. A lot of people in MMA claim to be wrestlers. There's not a lot of wrestlers in MMA. There's a lot of people that have wrestled. In my mind, it's a big difference between a wrestler and someone that's wrestled. So that outside of those three, maybe there's one or two other guys in there that wrestled at some point.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult for me to teach a 26 or 20-year-old guy how to wrestle.
Right.
I'm not going to teach you to be a wrestler. So what I try to do is I try to skip past that and really figure out ways to improve their overall athleticism. A lot of these guys have never played a bend over sport before. They don't. I tell them to bend their knees and get in a wrestling stance, and they just don't know how to do it. Right. So what I try to do is while I'm increasing their overall athleticism, I put them in wrestling positions and I teach them how to get to the right spot, how to get the right position, and we rep it and we rep it and rep it. And I'm kind of oversimplifying a little bit because there is some technical things along the way. But I don't necessarily teach them how to be wrestlers, but if I can successfully teach them, improve their athleticism and teach them how to move like a wrestler, that's what we're looking for. Right. How to have fast hips, fast feet, how to have everything tied together. Because MMA wrestling is, in my mind, is basically pretty simple. It's pretty simple. If we can get you to read, react, and get to the right spot, we have a chance to win that position. Right. Then we come back, we reset, and then we start going over the finer details of it. We start filling in the gaps a little bit. After a certain period of time, the guys take over and they start making it their own. As far as, I think you were kind of getting into more kind of game planning for the fight, how fighters from different styles approach the fights with different game plans depending on opponents. And I think my partner, Henry Hoof, I've been with him since I started this a little over 5 years now, but we don't do a lot of fight specific game planning. Obviously we watch film, we understand the guy's strengths and the guy's weaknesses, but he more than me, actually, more than me, he has intense focus on just becoming overall fighters. Your opponent's going to change from day to day, but we put an intense focus on just making our group as best as it can. Maybe you switch from righty to southpaw, whatever, we make the adjustments. But he's really a great coach, and I've learned a ton from him.
All right. Yes. Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because I'm thinking like if you have a wrestler, you want him to kind of stay with what he's good at. I mean, you have to balance.
Of course. And you broke up a little bit.
Oh, I was saying, because if you have someone who's a high-class wrestler, like, that's probably what they're going to bring to the table, that they're going to beat other people with. You probably
we're not going to change that.
Like, you don't want them to overly focus on striking. They have to be a proficient striker. But how do you balance that? It's kind of also like in wrestling, too, just in general, where you have to take or my understanding of it is, you find your weaknesses, you got to get them at least good enough, right? Whatever that which means very, very good, obviously, if you want to be a high level, but you get them good enough. And then your strengths, you have to make them freaky, right? So if in the fighting world, if you're a striker, you got to make your striking freaky, and you got to make your wrestling, good enough, like continuing to improve.
Competent. Right? Yeah, just make it competent. Yeah. No, absolutely. What you see where the wrestlers get in trouble, they start getting some experience, and they knock one or two guys out, and then they fall in love with it, and they start getting away with what got them there. I think that's we've seen that over the years in a lot of really good wrestlers. It's fun knocking someone out. It's a great feeling. You get paid. You get paid more in the UFC, at least, if you knock a guy out cold. So, but we still for those kind of guys, we still gotta make them good at what got them there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You got to stick with where you're good, right? That's a real.
Yep.
Nice. No, that's great stuff. That's great. How are your fighters training now? Like, what do you tell them to do given this whole situation?
Yeah, it's been, we're in the same boat as everyone. It's been difficult. We have a team text string that we kind of just bounce some thing off them. But we're just trying to make do however we can. A lot of guys are in their backyard. But spend a lot of time. I wasn't expecting to be out this long, but my initial thought was through this whole thing that it's actually a good reset, because the sport's so hard, and when we don't necessarily do fight camp, so to speak, that we're kind of always in fight camp, and we put a demanding schedule on these guys. So in some ways, whenever this was first announced, I was like, it's great. It's a great time. Hit reset, sure up any elbow, knee, small. What's up, dude? Any small injuries you have. But this is, although necessary, it's getting long for everybody, and I get it.
Yeah. And sometimes when you have a little break from the sport, it gives you an opportunity to start reflecting on yourself. Because I think a lot of athletes,
sure.
Like, this happens with injuries too. That's why we tell athletes that when you're hurt, use this as an opportunity to reflect and actually think about what you're doing, as opposed to just getting workouts in.
Yeah.
Examine yourself. Like, what am I doing well that I can make better? What am I doing poorly that I can improve? Oh, kissy.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think if you're committed to your craft, there's any number of ways that you can do that. And kind of my message to them was that no matter what, do those things that you said. We as a team, as we're going to come out of this ahead of everyone else.
Right.
When this thing opens up, we got to be in a position to hit the ground. Because what's going to happen is, at least in our sport, as soon as they get the window open, I think we're gonna start rolling, and they're gonna roll fight after fight after fight after fight. So it's terribly important that their guys are doing what's necessary right now.
Right, staying ready. I think about it in terms of athletics and also as a business, that whenever there's a situation that's like massive like this, it's like there's always the opportunity for their changing of the guard, so to speak. Whereas you might have some people who are doing real well that ends their career basically, and some people that maybe they were lower that now they can jump a whole level. Same thing with the business. You have adversity like this with the economy. There's some businesses that it's their demise; they go broke, and there's other people that become multimillionaires. So it's the hustle that you're doing in between now and then, to improve.
Yeah, because you really got no choice, right? What are you what are you gonna do? Just stop? You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. No, if there's any way we could help out mentally, guys, we're happy to, or any materials we could provide you with. You should probably have some of our materials, right? That anything that we could help with, it's important. It's important.
Yeah, extremely.
Positive, resilient, and seeing opportunity during adversity. It's critical. It's critical.
Yeah, very much so.
No, that's great stuff, Greg. Absolutely. No, a lot of great stuff. And this guy right here is going to be the benefit of that. We learned information on this call that you're going to have for the rest of your life. You got to shoot. He's got to feel your shot the first 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
I'll be looking for it. I'll be ready, bud.
No, I love that. And I mean, all that stuff is great. Just great stuff, Greg. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you having me on. And anytime, man. I'm easy to reach. You want to do it again? I'm certainly willing and able.
Happy. And if there's anything, like I said, any way we could help, any kind of questions on mindset that we could help with, just let me know. We're happy to shoot them over that way. It's a win-win, right?
Absolutely. You guys are doing a great job, and I think you guys fill that void very well. I mean, there's a lot of specialized training and stuff out there, but I think you guys are really, really on to something and headed into the right direction.
Thanks a lot, Greg. I appreciate it. Stay safe, you and your family. You guys. All right.
Likewise, brother. Thank you. Take care, yeah?